Here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to an episode of Fresh Mondays podcast, episode number 77.
That's a nice. I wonder what if you're a numerology person. 7 is a lucky number. So
Lucky number 7.
is a double 7 luckier?
Yeah,
I'm just winging it. I'm thinking of that.
I'm with whatever brings positive energy. I'm with it. Maybe this is very lucky moments for us because it's 7 and 7s are good numbers, and it's our 77th episode. And it's been a little while since we hit you guys with an episode, so we want to say thank you so much for sticking around. Shout out to our day ones and welcome to our subscribers. Always good
Yes.
to hear and see ya.
And of course, we haven't been long gone. There is a brand new show in addition to the family that is the Fresh Mondays podcast network. You can listen to the Love and Hip Hop season 10 talk on all platforms as well as you listen to us on this show. So make sure to subscribe to that as well to keep hearing our lovely voices hit your eardrums every single week with all that talk. But I'm excited to be back on here because last we spoke about was Eighth in Theory. And with Christmas just passing, we all received tons of little, bath bombs and lotions and those kind of things. So anything special from the Eighth in Theory that you've been using? How's that been going?
It's been going really well. I really like the products. I'm not just saying that. You know how sometimes you just say something to say it?
Mm-hmm.
Use me moving stuff. I actually like it. I appreciate very much that the rose serum, the one that we show with the rosebuds, it's like kind of powerful and it feels kind of like stingy, or like my boyfriend says, your face smells like Colgate. But
Wow.
I don't know. I love how it feels, and I think it was probably my favorite product from the ones that she has.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great episode, learning about entrepreneurship, creating your own products. I think that's like the one thing I wish I was better at was actually figuring out how to create my own everything, because I love products and I become a product junkie, but we know that there's a simplicity in making this, but also difficulty in the science of it. So
I'm sure. Yeah.
That was a great conversation with Eighth in Theory owner.
Absolutely. And shout out to all women business owners. We support you. And tonight, I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode because we're going to talk about something inspiring and also great for the new year. You know how we all have goals and we all say, hey, I want this year to be a strong year. I want to save more money, or I want to be able to invest, or I want to diversify, or I'm ready to take a risk. A lot of people get inspired by the 2020 kickoff. You know what I mean? So today we have a fellow podcaster joining our conversation from the Millennial to Millionaire Podcast. Really cool. He's going to actually be sharing some of his knowledge, some of his journey to get to where he got. And also we're going to talk about some money, because why not? It's a great way to start 2020. So please welcome Paris Grant.
They should.
Okay.
So Paris, welcome to the Fresh Mondays podcast platform. We're so happy to have you. Say hello to all of our listeners and let them know who you are.
Hello, everybody on the Fresh Mondays podcast. My name is Paris Grant. I am the host and founder of the Millennial to Millionaire Podcast, a podcast I founded all about financial literacy, financial news, and anything financial as I chronicle my journey to becoming a millionaire. And yeah, that's it.
Chronicle your journey to become a millionaire.
Yes.
That is intriguing because I think all of us millennials have real desires and grew up in a way of like, we have to reach that pivotal point of millionaire status, or at least the bank account got to show it with the commas. So what was your initial, trigger or whatever that said, I want to be a millionaire?
So it was like, it's like a funny story, I guess. It was like, so I graduated a year early when I was in like elementary school. So I was always like a year behind all my like peers and everything. So like when I first got to college, when we'd go out, I'd have to use my I graduated, I was 17. I'd have to use like my college ID because I couldn't show my real ID because they wouldn't let me in because I was like too young. So when I was turning 21, I thought it was gonna be like this whole big thing. Like everybody was like, oh, Paris is finally legal, because they were all like, everybody was already older than me and like doing whatever. And then like I was planning out my 21st birthday, and I wanted to be like this whole big baller thing. I was like, I'm gonna get a hotel room. We're gonna invite everybody over. It's gonna be like this whole lit like occasion. And like I had been working, and like I could save up money. It wasn't like it wasn't like hard for me to save. But then this was like the first like big thing that like I really wanted, and it like fell apart. It was like bad. There was just like no planning that went into it. Like nobody showed up. I just didn't think about things. And I was sitting there, and I had read this book, Think and Grow Rich, and it actually started out like, and like I was reading it at the time that this happened, and I was like, damn, like this is the first time when I realized how much money I had or how little I had, and like I was like, so much had like built up to where I was at, where I was like, damn, like I've been folding this whole time and not even realizing it. And then I was like a little upset, I guess a little salty. So I was like, I'm gonna become a millionaire just to like flex on everybody. It's gonna be like this whole big thing. So then I was like, you know what? Yeah. So I was like, so then like November 13th, the day after my birthday, I was like, I'm gonna become a millionaire. And then it's been like, you know, a whole another long story. And then now here we are, like I got a whole podcast about it. That's where it started.
I mean, you know how they say success is the best revenge. So if you felt inspired, it must have been a trigger, which is fine. Sometimes we can't really predict that moment that it happens to us. But like Marley mentioned, you're right. Everybody has had this aspiration to be wealthy and have money and have lavish things. And partially it's because we're more exposed to things more than we've ever been. So it's like you get to see what it looks like to have money. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, like it's fucking amazing. And then aside from that, it's more obtainable than it's ever been in the world. There's more millionaires than there's ever been in the world. There's more opportunities for you to diversify your money than there's ever been in the world. So it all kind of aligns, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we need to catch up, basically.
Right.
Basically, yeah. I agree.
And so share with us about the podcast. Are you giving tips, tricks, or like failures, successes that you've had? What does the podcast entail?
The podcast kind of started out because I kind of got out of that whole like revenge sort of like mindset where I was like, I was like reading more and I was like journaling and I was like doing a lot more. So like I felt like more inspired and it became more about the journey than about like the spiteful thing. And then people would like ask me questions about like, do you save, or like how do you save, or like what do you put your money in, or like what do you do? And like I was just starting out, but I was like, there's a lot of things out here that seem really basic to me that like people just don't know about, and it's like information that's out there, they just don't know how to access it. So I started the podcast because I was like, I'm gonna teach people how to do it as I do it, because like, you know, the best way to learn is to teach. So I was like, I'm gonna tell people about it, and then like that way I'll be like researching more and learning. But like now it's kind of grown into a thing where like I talk about financial news so people just kind of know the state of where we're at. I talk about like, it could be about saving, budgeting. It's kind of whatever people want to hear. But there's no real there's no real set thing for it. It's just whatever I feel like people like might want to hear, something that I find interesting, just anything kind of financial, so that like you can kind of open up that communication, because money is something that we don't really talk about a lot. So I try to be very open and transparent when talking about it and make it seem like a very common thing, so that we can kind of be more proactive about like our finances instead of being like more huddled up and sheltered about it.
So yeah. I think it's really awesome that what you just said, my favorite part of what you just said was that you decided to start teaching people because it kind of forced you to learn in a way. You know what I mean? And I think that's really genius, because how else are you going to hold yourself accountable to something unless you have like a deadline or, you know, like someone to report to? At the end of the day, we all function differently. So it's like, if that was your way to kind of take ownership of something, I think it's genius, because now you're creating content, but you're also helping yourself grow. It's like a really awesome journey.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think it's, go ahead, Mar.
No, for me, I was going to ask, did you set yourself different variations of goals throughout that journey? Like as a check mark, is there, do you get what I mean? Like
kind of, yeah. Like how do I put it? Like I'm always like learning and growing. So I do have different benchmarks. So like I've had certain things that I've hit where I was like, okay, like once I hit like that mark, like I kind of know, like I've actually done the math to like becoming a millionaire. So like I've tried, like maybe I sort of track it somehow, but like there's always like some new thing that I'm trying to focus on, where like right now I'm like learning more about taxes. So I'm trying to like do more stuff like to kind of optimize like how much I'm paying in taxes. There's always like different benchmarks I'm reaching. So yes, but it's very fluid. So like, yeah, so it's always like coming and going. But like the overall thing is just to have that kind of financial freedom. So yeah.
Now, one of the things I really enjoy about your podcast, because of course I listened, is that you have like the little melody playing in the background, and you're kind of like giving people a little story and guiding them through your
Yeah.
day and why you decided to talk about this and why it's good to talk about this type of thing. It has a really cool flow to it. Now, I would love to know how this all got started, because since we're all podcasters here, people always ask you, they're like this mystery world of how did this all happen? Like, how long did it first take you to say, you know what, I want to start this, and then your first episode dropped? Like, how was that? How long did that take?
So, like, okay, it's kind of like a weird story. In a way, I've kind of restarted the podcast like 3 times. But initially, it was, how do I put it? In Think and Grow Rich, I had this thing where it's like, I don't know if you guys have read it or not. It talks a lot about like goal setting and like aspiration. So like I remembered, I thought about it and I was like, I won't start it unless other people know that I'm gonna start it. So I just made sure I like told a bunch of people, I was like, I'm gonna start a podcast, and like I had the name already thought up, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. So then I would like tell other people, and then I think like, how do I put it? That was November. It was like my birthday's in November. By January 1st of the next year, January 1st, 2017 was when I put out my very first episode. And then I put out a couple more. Like I was like, oh, like I'm so excited about like being able to record, but I didn't really think about it and really have like a studio or anything set up. So then I stopped for a little bit, and then I started re-recording when I got a studio, and then I stopped again. But then this year I was like, like I went into it just like I really wanted to grind it out. So like this year I've really been going into it like really hard. Just like I put out an episode like once every 4 days now. So yeah, I go into it like really, really hard now, but it's kind of been like a weird little thing, but I'm in a really good groove right now with it.
That's what I think people don't realize, that it takes a lot of dedication. So you said like this really weird groove of going. You have to make yourself very, what's the word I'm looking for? Disciplined. You're going to schedule, just like you go to work every day, blah, blah, blah. When you have side projects and additional projects and those kind of things, you have to be super, super diligent that you're going to go, you're going to show, you're going to record, you're going to, have that energy and be present. So definitely understand that up and down.
Yeah,
so it's a commitment.
And it's something you guys probably understand too now, because you guys are podcasters as well, is like there's so much content out there, and it looks so simple like when you're like watching it through a phone and like listening to it and like in your headphones, but like you don't realize all the work that's going on behind the scenes. Like there's scripts that have to be written, there's deadlines to meet, there's like information you have to be getting. So like the finished product is cool. Like I listen to your guys' podcast and it's funny and it's great and I love listening to it. But like I know that it's not like just like some simple thing that just gets done. You guys have to dedicate time to go do it. So like it really makes you appreciate other people who are putting out content too.
Absolutely. So, and another thing is that you have to like this. Like this isn't,
That's true.
It's not, you gotta like people. You gotta like talking to people and others, whatever they're bringing.
Because ultimately, like, this can't be only something that you do for reward, because rewards come very far in between. And you have to be a very patient person to be in the space. So it's like, you're not doing this for the instant gratification. You're doing this because you like it. And also there's a reward of satisfaction because I'm doing something and it's actually happening, and all those things are great. Your creative channels are being kind of demonstrated in different ways, which is really fulfilling. But you have to like doing this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it is a dedication. And you know what's so funny? Ever since me and Marley have started this journey, like she mentioned, we've had breaks, we've had ups and downs, we have moments of silence, and then all of a sudden we come back, because it happens, because we have real lives. And it's so funny how many people have started podcasts since we've started podcasts, and where are they now? You know what I mean? It's like, it's really we've seen unbelievable. It all come and go. There's many people.
There's like the statistic out. I heard it on another podcast actually, and they were saying that like when it comes to like podcasts and blogs and YouTube channels, within like the first 6 months, like 70% of people stop doing it. So like if you really think about it, it's just like a time game, because people will just fall out from doing it because they think it's easy. They think it's like cool, fun, whatever. And it is cool and it's fun and I like doing it. But like it's not easy, and you actually have to have like a passion for it.
I think people also have to realize you have to be a content creator. Like this is something that has to be engaging and has to be connecting with others, and you have to plan it out, strategize it. I've had, just like podcasters, people interested in podcasting, I've had plenty of people reach out to me in regards to just being interested in doing any type of content whatsoever and think like, okay, these people are millionaires and making money utilizing YouTube, that don't realize the work that has to go in. Those people work full-time jobs. This is a full-time job, creating this and editing this and putting
Exactly.
this together.
And
So
especially
sometimes they'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. I was like, do you know what SEOs are? And do you know how to put that in the back end? There's a whole world on this back end that exists that you realize. And so that is the new millennium, becoming millionaires.
True enough. Exactly. It's all about like growing, producing instead of like consuming. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
1 second, guys. Hold on. Pause. She just yelled at me. Sorry. Continue. I apologize.
You're good.
So,
Sorry,
I remember, Paris, that when I was listening to your most recent podcast before your Merry Christmas one, is that you said that you're going to dedicate this next year to something specific on your podcast. I thought it was super interesting, and I would love for you to share it with our listeners.
for the super specific, you mean when I was talking about being more transparent and more and like chronically? So yeah, something with like this podcast, I've been doing it, yes, and like I think it's something I've kind of grown, like my passion for it has grown more because it's starting to get to a point where like I record this like in my closet, and like it got to be something that like I initially did just thinking that like maybe like my friends might listen to because it's like Paris, but like there's actually like, you know, like people are starting to engage. I'm starting to like see what it is, and I think that I've kind of like I started off, like I said, of chronicling my journey to becoming a millionaire. And I want to be more transparent and like talk about like what I'm actually doing, because it's about, how do I put it? There's nothing I can do for them, like that like, you know, I can't save their money for them. I can't invest their money for them. But I want to let them know like actually how to do it and how I'm doing it, so that like we look at millionaires now, billionaires now, the things that they're doing now aren't the things that made them billionaires. They're doing things to sustain their wealth. But like, how do they get there? And I want to show them like it's not that like, you know, like I'm not like this like crazy like baller guy, but like it's something that like if you have this discipline, if you have this diligence, it's something that like everyone can kind of get to their own version of financial freedom. Even if it's not a millionaire, even if you don't want to become a millionaire, a lot of people don't want to have to worry about money. And like it's easy to say, oh, go invest your money, go save your money, but like invest it where, save it where, like why am I saving? What is this? What is that? And I want to just open up that conversation even more and like let people really see like just like with podcasting, like what goes on behind the scenes of somebody who wants to become a millionaire, so that they can be able to like, I want to give more practical advice in that sense.
Right. And as we mentioned offline, me and Paris are both members of the Toastmasters group here in downtown Miami, which has been a really amazing way to meet. You know, him and I met as podcasters, and that was awesome. And we were at a public speaking club for something completely different. You know what I mean? So it's like you see sometimes you really connect and you build really good relationships. I think that one of the things that me and Marley have spoken about, that in our experience, in our growth, it's really who you meet. And sometimes it's in these really random environments that you meet real great gems. And you're like, hey, you know what? This is a convenient partnership, or this is a friendship that I can learn from, or this is a person who fuels my creative. You see what I'm saying? Like all these things are super important.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a perfect example. See, now we have a podcaster joining our conversation. And I say this just to like kind of encourage people to step into that with the new year coming along. And this episode, I guess, is going to kind of push us to have a better year, because it's like our last episode of 2019. So I think we should definitely, you know, start doing the things that we know work.
Exactly.
Without a doubt. What are some tips that you would suggest for some to do for 2020? I was going to say 2019, but what are some tips that you have, financial tips for millennials for 2020?
For millennials for 2020, the main thing that I think that most people should do, especially at the beginning of the year, because it's like a really easy, it's kind of easy thing to track, is tracking your expenses. Something that I do like January every year, because it's something you don't even have to do for the whole year if you don't really feel like it, is just tracking your expenses. And it's something that, you know, everything's automated these days. We have everything on our credit cards, like everything's like automatic. So like money gets sucked out. We don't even realize what's happening. But when you start like really writing down like how much money you're spending and when you're spending it and what you're spending it on, if you go do that for a month straight, you'll see, obviously some months are going to be different, but if you do that for a month straight, you'll really see like, wow, like I spend a lot more on gas than I thought I did. Or like I eat out more than like I say that I would. Like most people say like, oh, it's been like maybe like this or that. But then,
I think we all eat out more than we should. And I think we all know that's the terrible habit we all have.
And the thing, and we don't even realize, so then we'll be like, oh, damn, like I can really cut back on that. Or like, and then when you start thinking about like, we all go into resolutions, we're thinking about like our ambitions and our whys. And like, we think about like, like what we really want to get out of the new year and everything. Just really anchoring that to your money is something that I think more people should do, is just like envisioning where you want to be and kind of like what your best self is. And just like, what does their financial situation looking at, and trying to mirror that. Save as much as you can, and I definitely recommend opening online savings accounts. It's something that a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people like they feel a lot of, I guess, security in having like money on them, or like having money in like liquid cash. But saving online, you get a lot better rates, and it'll also like stop you from spending down your savings. So if you're somebody who if you have it, you're gonna spend it. That's another good thing I always tell people to go do. And then listen to the Millennial to Millionaire podcast for more financial tips and everything, because I'm talking about a lot more on my show.
Awesome. So how do people follow you? How do people get to know you? How do people get to subscribe?
So I do not have any kind of social media, actually. I guess I'm a little weird in that sense. I don't have any social media, Snapchat, Instagram, anything like that. But you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm not like super big on that, but if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, but I'd say the best way to connect with me is through the podcast. Like people send me emails through there. A lot of people who I connect with on LinkedIn are people who actually like click through that. So like I usually use that to talk to new people. And if you just want to hear more about like me, like my journey, like what else I'm doing, I'd say the podcast is the best way, because it's basically like my, I guess, audio diary. So yeah.
So tell everybody again the name of the podcast and on what platforms.
The name of the podcast is the Millennial to Millionaire Podcast. It is on all platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Castbox, Stitcher, anywhere you can listen to a podcast. It is on the Millennial to Millionaire Podcast. If you type in the M2M Podcast, it will still populate if that's easier for you to type in. Yeah, we talk about everything financial. We got news, we got tips, tricks, we have interviews, we got all sorts of cool stuff all the time. And yeah, most importantly, you get to talk about money and hear about things that you might not have otherwise. And yeah, not keep it 100, keep it 1 million. That's what I'm always talking about.
Thank you so much for closing us with that closey little close you got.
Love it.
For sure. Thank you guys for having me. This is so fun. It's like, I don't know, like I've been listening to all yours, and now when I go by, I'll be like, oh, like there's one with me now. I get to be like,
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So fun. That's so fun. It's so cool. So cool.
Thank you so much. I'm excited for 2020, and we appreciate like the encouragement and in your podcast to kind of push us and strive us along to become not just millionaires, multi-millionaires.
Multi-millionaires. Yeah, ball out. Always level up. Exactly. Whatever it is, whatever like your top is, go above that.
There you go.
One goal first, one goal at a time, at a time.
Exactly.
To get there.
Baby steps.
Thank you so much, Paris, for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Happy you guys. Thank you guys so much for having me on again.
Thank you for joining us.
All
and
right,
Happy New Year.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, so it was nice to kind of get back into the reality of how much money I spent this Christmas season and how I need to start saving that cash. Just like Paris said, we need to open up them accounts.
Put
those that money aside.
It's 2020 is always, or New Year's are always that refresher that we find, like the refresh button. So finances definitely need a refresher in this household for me personally. And I'm excited one of my favorite things to do every single year, at the end of the year, I have a calendar date. I run my credit report every single December, the last week in December. You get it once a year for free on all 3 credit reports. And I just check that. And I see what I got to do and where I'm at, what's my number, how much is it dropped, and how bad, which it doesn't, excuse me, people. But, just see where we're at and set that in mind. So that's another suggestion for everybody to put into
That's
play.
very responsible of you, Marley.
It's just, it's just a thing of mine.
But
Thank you.
Good.
It makes you feel very adult-like. Like, let me check this credit.
You're aware.
Yeah.
Which is really awesome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, keep it awareness. And also, one question for you. I saw this post, what is your financial word of the year? or your financial word or statement of the year.
For the one coming up?
Yes, for the one coming up.
I would have to say, keep saving. Keep saving. Keep saving. I feel like that's my mantra that's in my head. I'm replaying that. It's in my head. I learned my lesson in 2019. You have to have money. Trust me. You have to have money.
Yeah.
And when you have money, you can survive anything.
Yeah.
Keep saving.
Things are different when you have the money.
Absolutely.
For a lot of things. I think for myself, it is almost in the same vein as yours. It's just be prepared in a sense, right? Like just emergency, be preparedness and those kind of things when it comes to money. I've always was told emergency funds, savings funds, then you're spending. So I need to become a lot more conscious of being prepared.
Just doing what our parents taught us.
Yes, and they have instilled it in us.
Yeah,
100. And it's just not until it hits a certain point that you're like, yeah, I get it. You told me.
Yeah, they were right.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, 100.
Just don't tell them.
No, I'm at a maturity level that I'm just like, you was right. Like, this was all true. I'm gonna give you that.
You hit a different plateau. Yeah. If you hit that plateau, you're like, listen, lady, yeah, you got it.
No. It's just like, it's just a level of just giving credit when credit is due. You'd be like, you know what? Thank you for teaching me how to put money away. Because I have a lot of people in my life that never got taught that.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Paris mentioned, like things that you just think are second nature is not second nature to everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's like you interact with people and you're just like, so you have no plan. So it's just like, you just gonna live. You know what I'm saying?
Winging it. Just winging it out here. And I think that might be a problem with some millennials too. Right. And I think for us as children of first generation, in a sense, you get instilled very differently. We kind of get embedded in our brains of certain things that you need to, like you said, like you were told you should be doing this, and they drill it in us for a reason and a purpose. And it's not until something hits the fan or something occurs that you're just like, all right, you were right, like this and this.
Yeah, so 100.
I think there's a lot to do with that in that sense. Thank you to Paris once again for being here. As we wrap up the final episode of the year, right? Let's do recommendations of the week. Or should we do a recommendation of 2019?
I think we should definitely not forget to tell people to go listen to the other podcasts that we got going on too. Okay.
In 2020.
We are growing. Okay. This Monday's network is becoming something. Y'all paying attention. Like we got a lineup. You know what I'm saying? So
there might be more in line. So we have began a new show in addition to this amazing show, because this is about entrepreneurship, creativeness, putting your best foot out there, strong women, those who have skill sets and putting it out there is this show. And then our messiness, our trash talk, our shit talk is on a new show called Fresh Mondays Podcast Presents Love and Hip Hop New York. And that is where we are breaking down season 10 for y'all every single week.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about what Kim Bella looks like in those clothes that don't fit her.
Hot mess.
And we are talking about our biasness towards Joe Budden. He can never do wrong in our eyes. So what else? There's just everything. Why Rich Dollars is still there is still not answered, but we hope to figure out by the end of the season. Those are the kind of things we are talking about. So
we want you guys to tune in and listen. And we want you guys to enjoy some education and a little bit of conversation.
Life is about balance.
Life is about balance, people.
So make sure to subscribe to that show. In addition to this show that you should be subscribed to as well. And you can email us about either of the shows if you want to participate in the conversation.
Absolutely.
That mess.
But we don't worry, guys. That doesn't mean we're not going to give you recommendations. And that doesn't mean we're not going to give you some good stuff. We just had to bring that in there because we want to let y'all know.
It is just reminders. So what would be your, let's say, recommendation heading into 2020?
Okay. This is the energy that I'm living right now. So this is 100% coming from my heart. If you work somewhere, if you're working on something, if you're building something, if you want to take it to the next level, find out who is doing it the best and beat him. Period. That is how I feel. And that's actually what's going on right now in my current job. So if you're listening to this podcast, you are going to be the victim. So
demolished.
It's just find out who's doing it the best and beat them. That's my 2020 advice and way of thinking.
By the way, as you're saying that and the way you're saying it with such passion and conviction, Drake's Energy should be playing in the background.
You see how me and him are connected.
That's what should be playing in the background, where as you're letting this human know that you got energy to take care of this. I like that. That's some good energy to walk into 2020.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's major goal setting. For me, heading into 2020, have your vision, your perspective in order of what you're heading into, what you're looking to get accomplished. So whether it be noting it down in a journal, creating a vision board, whatever it is, just note it, plan it, lay it out, and go forward with it. That is my suggestion for 2020. That is what I am going with 2020. You know, I know they said the new decade, a new change, but, you know, this is definitely, these are numbers that I didn't think I don't know why as a child you never thought 2020. Like, it just seems so far-fetched.
Yeah, it felt like a long time.
Mm-hmm. We've reached 2020, so I feel like this hits very much differently. This sets a whole nother tone. And so planning it, strategizing those goals, laying it out so that you can reach anything and all the possibilities. It's what it's about. And so that's my suggestion for 2020 we're heading into.
I love it.
So it sounds like we're just about to take over the whole goddamn world in 2020, people.
That's the only energy that's allowed.
Yeah. There's no slacking. There's no laid backness. Mm-hmm. It's about it's about becoming those multimillionaires. We just had that conversation with Paris.
Absolutely.
It's not even the financial. It's about top tier on anything and everything.
Exactly. It's time to grow.
Yeah. It's time to be adults.
It's time to really do this. You know what I'm saying?
We was chilling all them 2000s.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it's about. This has been a great episode. This has been a great way to wrap up the year. I'm excited. I'm energetic and prepared for what's to come. We hope to hear from you guys again in we hope you guys are continually listening to us in 2020, and you will hear from us again in 2020. Don't forget, you can follow me, Marley, at lovemarley_. That's LUVMARLEY _ on Instagram and all those other things you can find me on.
Yes, and you can find me, Diana, at IamDianaC_. That's IamDianaC_. I only use Instagram, so I'm not even gonna act like I should give you any other thing. Like,
don't go looking for me elsewhere.
Yeah, that's what I use.
There's just one.
Right. And remember to follow our podcast at Fresh Mondays Podcast. We are going to be giving you information on Fresh Mondays Podcast and every other Fresh Monday production that's coming down the way. You guys will always have your source of information from our one handle, and we will continue to let you know as our growth continues to grow. And once again, shout out to all of our day ones. You guys have been riding with us since 2017.
Yes.
And it is so appreciated. So appreciated. Thank you for your support, subscribing, listening, sharing, and telling other people about us. And thank you so much for the people who say that they finally listened and tuned in. And they're like, oh, I really enjoy you guys' show. It's like really awesome. And I'm just like, you're surprised. But
you think we don't. Anyways.
Right. But it's nice. Thank you.
Yes, we appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening, and see you in 2020.
Yes, girl. We'll see you soon.